Well, good morning, everyone. I know most of you probably recognize my name. I am Karen Arnold. I'm the Keystone Historic Preservation Grant Manager here at the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office. With me today is Shelby Weaver-Splain, who's our Education and Outreach Coordinator, who is very kindly helping me moderate our session this morning. If you'll notice from my background, I am working at home and it sounds like one of my neighbor's dogs is going nuts, so I apologize for the background noise. But anyway, I thought today might be a good day to kind of pull together all of our new grantees and kind of talk a little bit about how to successfully and easily manage your Keystone grant. I know that a number of you may be new to grants. Several of you are new to PHMC grants, and then even some of our old timers are maybe new to PA Share. So this is really just an opportunity to kind of whittle down those copious large documents that I sent you in the form of a grant contract and then in form of a grant manual, thinking that that would help you decipher what's in that grant contract, but I think I've just made it more difficult. So I thought maybe a conversation might be in order. So really, what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is really to informally assist you with how our processes work. They are very different from some of the other Commonwealth grants as well, and just make sure that you are aware of the terms and conditions of the grant contract that are first and foremost um, important to make sure that we can adequately get you reimbursed and make sure your project is successful. I have a quick meeting agenda. You'll see that we'll go through really quickly. We have everyone muted, but you're able to ask questions within the chat as we go along. Shelby is helping me moderate those, but we'll unmute everyone at the end and as she helps. I guess we very comfortably did this yesterday, so we'll manage to do it again. As you know, I sort of threw this at you at the last minute, so several of our grantees weren't able to join us, so we are recording this brief webinar or meeting, I guess I should say, just so that you're aware of that as well. So I will try to answer all general questions at the end of our meeting. And certainly if you have specific project related questions that really are germane just to you, we are welcome to talk outside of this meeting and kind of offline as well if you don't think everyone else really benefit. But for the most part, no question is too small or too large or anything like that. Probably someone else is burning to ask that same question. So first things first, as a funder, we do really want to remain an active partner in your project. So please keep me apprised of changes or additions to either your staff or consultants that may have been listed as contacts in either, I use those to develop the distribution list that invited you today. And I realize that staff often changes, but the other part of that is really important because it does help us get you access to PA Share, which I will talk about in a little bit later. The other questions that I usually get asked right away is how to provide that matching fund verification. Of course, you're probably very familiar with the fact that we are a matching fund or grant project, meaning that you have to match all of our Keystone grants with other grant sources. Um, your contract specifies that you have about 90 days before you need to report that your matching funds are in place, and that simply can be reported on your first quarterly report. I don't need copies of your bank statements, but if you've received outside grant support, please provide the source or the commitment letters to update your record. All of our participants today have been funded through our construction category program, which has some differences from our planning category, including project review. As you may or may not have realized that all of our work that's funded through Keystone has to be reviewed to make sure they're in compliance with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. I review all of those projects, but depending on the source of your matching fund, I may need to collaborate with others on our staff to make sure that you're staying in compliance with your other funder, especially if it's a state or federal source. So that matching fund is very important to let me know if perhaps you're receiving funding through Department of Conservation and Natural Resources or someone else that would require us to sign off of it under either the State History Code or Section 106. We'll talk a little bit about how to submit that project review information through PA Share a little later today, but there's a different process. I'm so sorry if you're having other state or federal funding too, but we'll collaborate with at least a response and make it a little bit easier for you. And then finally, all of our construction category recipients are required to file a preservation covenant. This is a formal legal document. It's recorded at the Recorder of Deeds office in your county. Your contract specifies that you need to do that, and this is just a friendly reminder that that's something that we'll need to work on throughout the course of your project. I cannot reimburse you any expenses until we have that document underway. So our next little topic is how to submit either project review or quarterly reports. And it's really the same thing, but we'll really talk about quarterly reporting for the most part here. Your quarterly reports are outlined and their due dates are outlined in your Appendix B of your grant contract, but they're essentially January, April, July, or in October. We do provide you with a form if you've received your executed grant contract. I've already provided that to you. I'm also, and so if you're not quite under contract with it, be patient, it's coming. I just checked this morning. They all got moved out of the Attorney General's office and are waiting to go to the comptroller. So our fiscal office just has one more thing to do before it goes that way. So we're very close. Although I think there's a couple more further back, but the large portion of our grantees will soon be under contract. Um, regarding to the quarterly reports, you're welcome to use a calendar reminder so that you can remember when you have to submit them, but I do generally email out everyone, at least to the project contacts, with a reminder that those are coming due. And I often ask for those to report due, even though they're due the 1st, to wait till at least the 15th. I give you plenty of time. That way you have opportunity to capture the full activity of the prior quarter. What to include, we might ask. It's really just an opportunity to share with me what progress has been made, if you've had to change either your scope of work because of budget overruns, or unfortunately you found more damage or structural issues that need to be addressed, to let me know who you've hired as a consultant or contractor, and again, how to tell me how your fundraising progress is going. I ask you to submit a quarterly report, even if there's no work that's been done within that quarter. This is very important. If you've noticed, you have 24 months to complete your project. That means your project ends September 30th, 2023, which will be here way before you know it. But unfortunately, a lot of our grantees, especially in this COVID world, are seeing supply chain disruptions or just difficulty getting a contractor to come out. And we do occasionally have an opportunity to extend your contract for time. And I wanted to make sure that you are aware that a lot of that justification when you need that extension comes in the form if you've been able to keep up to date with us with your quarterly reporting and let us know that you're having those challenges. The other thing that's often asked within your quarterly report are photographs. Shelby loves the project photographs, especially if they've got people working in them. We do use them in some of our publications or in our webinars too. So we do like those. And all of that is submitted through our new system called PA Share, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Next up, you may have noticed as well is that all of our grantees are required to acknowledge PHMC support in some way. For our construction category, we prefer a posted construction sign. Those are meant to be posted not in perpetuity, but only during the active construction period. Your contract specifies the size. We ask for an exterior grade material and that they're posted in a very visible location. If you are a project that is fairly complicated and you need to make sure that you're acknowledging the county commissioners or other funding sources, it is permissible to just use our PHMC logo, and I can get you that artwork. And that way it can be a more cohesive sign and you don't have to litter your project site with like 30 different signs acknowledging different funders. We do ask for verification of that project sign as being as part of your final report to flag them, and I do ask for that to be included if you've omitted it and not submitted it with prior quarterly reports. It is something that we really do insist upon. I guess insist is well, never mind. We're a funder, we're a partner, and we certainly want to make sure that the public knows that we're a part of your project. The other thing that we do often encourage you to use is just discuss your project in the public realm. If you're using social media, feel free to use to include us in your social media posts. We do, if you can recall, when you prepared your grant application, we asked you to articulate how your project furthers the goals and initiatives of our statewide plan. And this is one way that you can actually continue that dialogue throughout the course of your project. You're welcome to use the hashtag preservation happens here. We use those social media posts as a way to populate and formulate our community initiative awards, which are sort of informal annual awards that we share with our community as well. I know that Anna During, who's on our call this morning, had received one for the Max Ovanko murals out at St. Nicholas Church in Millvale. I hope I got all of that right, Anna. My apologies if I didn't. So it's something that we really like to encourage you to use and share all of your projects with the public at large as well. And Anna did a great job at making sure that everyone was aware and really engaged the public, even during a very difficult COVID time, about what was happening with their planning grants. So that was wonderful. Thank you again. Next up, which I'm sure everybody really cares about, is how do you get your money? As you know, these are not direct awards. You receive your funding and recoup them as reimbursement requests. Again, as you're a grantee that had already received your grant contract, I did send you the reimbursement forms for you. And there is a complete instructions on how to fill out this very complicated form within the grant manual handbook. I just wanted to go over a brief couple things with you that often come up with questions from grantees. For the most part, even though you're drawing down your Keystone grant fundings, we do want to see all of the expenses related to your matching share so that we can see that you are fully matched. And then so you will be articulating all of the project expenses on this form. And then we usually pay 50% so that you're drawing down your matching funds and the Keystone grant at the same rate. Although we talk a lot about using PA Share and how wonderful PA Share is, grant contracts and grant reimbursements are done through the ESA contract portal. So unfortunately, I please don't submit these reimbursement requests through PA Share. They'll come directly to me. You can send them to me via email. And I can make sure they're processed. I do keep track of them in your PA Share record so that you can see which ones I have processed and what your ongoing balance is on your grant award. So that's a very helpful feature within PA Share that I often neglect to mention and don't always realize how helpful that it might be to a grantee. The other thing that I should let you know is that the Commonwealth is transitioning to all ACH or automated clearinghouse payments. You should have noted that mention in your grant contract. All of our current grantees, I've been nagging them to go ahead and update their banking information in that Pennsylvania supplier portal. If you're a new grantee, you were asked and had to create a vendor profile. I think they wouldn't even issue you a vendor number until you set up yourself with automatic payments. For now, we are able to quickly process some of them through with paper checks, but I have a feeling in the next couple months that'll completely be halted. So you want to make sure your banking information is up to date. If you're a municipality, I note that a lot of you have very multiple funding sources coming through. If there's a specific account that I need to post your grant payment to, could you please let me know what that account is? I don't want to send it to the Liquid Fuels Fund if it doesn't go there. And then also just a friendly reminder to update me and keep that profile updated throughout the life of your grant project. I won't know if you've changed banks. If you haven't told me, I'll happily post it to a grant banking profile that's no longer current, and then it just delays your payment. So, and I seem to have to know that before I even process the payment. I can't go back and change the banking information after that. One other note, oops, I went too fast. One other note to think, that the Treasury does take 30 days upon receipt of the reimbursement to issue your payment, so there is that slight delay. And the other thing is that there is that provision that we hold the final 20% of your grant award until your final report is submitted and approved. So just keep that in mind as you're working with your cash flow. Moving on to PA Share. If you're not familiar or a common partner with us, we were very pleased, and this happened in February, to launch PA Share, which is Pennsylvania's Historic and Archaeological, oops, here I click on it to make sure I can see it and get the name right, and I advance the script. So it's the Pennsylvania Historic and Archaeological Resource Exchange. This is a very exciting initiative for us. This sort of combined probably about 30 different operating databases, which was oh so annoying and difficult for our staff, into one user collaborative, which collates everything. So if you are interested in submitting a historic tax credit application, a National Register nomination, a historic marker, if you need to submit their project review, it's all in one location within PA Share. Our grantees need only have a free basic account to manage their program. Uh, and I am excited to let you know that so with that free account, you can go and actually look at some of the information that's available online. A lot of the National Register information and legacy data is still available with that free basic account. And that's all you need to actually manage your grant program or project. How grantees use this are really the preliminary project review documents are all submitted through there. Your quarterly reports, your final reports are all submitted there. You all have your own project that's isolated just for you. I, as the grant manager, created that project and listed the primary project contact who was in the application as the person who has access to that project. You can add, and I can add, more people in your project personnel or project team if necessary. Um, However, only those who are listed as project contacts can access that project file. So keep that in mind if you have staff that changes, to either make sure that you update that or let me know that they need access. The other thing is if you've got someone else on your project team who may be submitting your quarterly report and they don't have access, they won't be able to upload it without me adding them. I'm very sorry, and this is a huge oversight, and I'm not really positive of how to fix this, but your PA Share project number differs from the extant ESA ID number that you got with your grant on contract and the SAP contract number that came through with your actual funding thing. They're created, I'm the only one who's burdened with two separate systems. So your reimbursement requests and contracts are in a different one, and there isn't a way to merge them. So as I mentioned before, your reimbursement requests do not come through PA Share, and that's why you don't use the same numbers to access that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can search for it if you're going in. You should be able to find it under My Projects, or if you already have an executed grant contract, I may have sent you an email linked from the PA Share system with how to access that project number. It's something that I'm going to have to work out, and I appreciate your patience as we kind of navigate how this is going to work and how you can easily access that. So again, final reminder, reimbursements requests do not come through PA Share. And additionally, your covenant document, since that's an actual paper document, will not be submitted through PA Share. I do maintain those in that system as an agreement document, and you should be able to see that, and it's tied to your grant project once we have it executed. But since it's a living paper document, it gets physically mailed into our office. So I wanted to take just a quick minute. We do have a tutorial on a lot of the help desk documents that are in PA Share to help you figure out how to submit things into it. But I thought provide a couple screenshots to you as well. So again, Grantees just need a free basic account to manage their grant and PA share. The login credentials are use the same Keystone login that the ESA application portal did. So that's really helpful, and I'm really glad to hear that. Um, the other thing to keep in mind is if you are a new person and you didn't prepare the application and you might have to create a Keystone login, there is a delay. So you are able to create a login on this welcome screen as well. But know that once you set up your profile, there's probably about a half an hour delay on that. If you no longer remember your username and password for Keystone login, if you try to sign in, there's a recovery way to either access those information, that login credentials again, and there's a phone number to the help desk as well. So I encourage you to do that. I know I don't have access to your Keystone login profile, so you'll have to do that. The most I can do is sympathize with you that it's frustrating. So I appreciate that. So just to give you a couple suggestions. The other thing to keep in mind is as you log in, you will you click that sign in button. You log in as a citizen of Pennsylvania unless you have your Keystone login profile set up as either a Commonwealth employee, which I don't think anyone would, or if you're working with another agency as well. So for the most part, reminder that you're signing as a citizen of Pennsylvania. So once you've successfully logged in, you get to our home screen, our dashboard. And again, I'm going to explain how to submit quarterly reports, but it's actually the same process if you were using with your preliminary project review documents, if you need to submit those um, as a whole. So it's sort of today's exercise is really how to interact with PA Share. But before I orient how you submit new information, I guess I should explain a little bit about what this dashboard looks like. You'll notice on the gray left-hand side, there's a navigation bar that allows you to view my projects, your past submissions, requests that might have come into our office, and then our office responses. So that's a kind of helpful way for you to navigate through that system. But the main things that you're going to be looking at, if you don't want to look at your actual project, but how you actually submit things through is the submit button located on that blue band at the top of the screen. You'll notice that there's a home that'll always take you back here. The submit button or a search button. So the search button allows you to search for new resources or anything or other projects that you might have been related on. But the submit button is the one that we really want to look at. So to hit the submit home screen, once you've hit that little blue button that said submit, that opens this home screen. And you'll notice that this allows you to submit anything in our office. So even unrelated to your grant project. So if you wanted to submit a marker nomination, a request for determination of eligibility on a historic resource, tax credit applications, project consultation, it all comes through here. Since I have already mentioned to you that I created a grant project for you, and I guess I should note, if you are a past recipient, you'll see, and you are a project contact, you'll see some of the legacy information. So make sure you're looking at the correct grant project, which would always be ones that start with 2021. So that should actually help us a little bit. So since that already exists, you're going to go to something at the very bottom of the left-hand navigation bar that's called Project Supplement. Because additionally, anytime you submit anything to this grant record, it's always a supplement to what's already there. And what that allows you to do is then search for your existing project. So if you didn't make note of that project number from the My Project number, or you don't have that email link, you can always contact me. I'm happy to provide you that number. I realize there's a kind of annoying thing with having so many different numbers related to your particular project. But again, your project is going to start with the numbers 2021 for 2021, the letters P as in Paul and R as in Richard for project, and then a sequential 5-digit number. It's just what numbers are coming in. They're all the same kind of numbers for all of our program areas. And so just remember there's no hyphens or spaces within that number. Again, you can always search for it or contact me if you don't have what that project number is. So if we've done it correctly and I've entered and transposed your email correctly and you have the correct project number, You should be able to find this. Our search will be a success and you'll be able to find your existing project. I'm going to note that I did hand type all of his email addresses in, and I do make mistakes, especially bumbling some of those names. So if nothing comes up, call me and I can double check to make sure that I did not mess up, and that or to make sure that you are really the project contact on the grant project. So as you see, with your project supplement screen opens up, you'll see at the very top, it's only there's only three parts to it. Your project number will be up at the very top. You'll have the opportunity to name what you're submitting, and this can be very brief. If it's your preliminary project documents, it can be as simple as, preliminary project documents for Keystone project for review. Or if it's a quarterly report, it can simply be, 2021 fourth quarter report. It doesn't have to be very exhaustive. It's just a quick little summary of what you're submitting to our office. The next section is the project documents, and you can upload PDFs of your actual report. If you remember, for your quarterly report, I do provide you with a standard form. You can save that as a PDF and upload it right here. Either if in addition to documents, you can also send me URLs if you want to attach it. Also, if you've got, I don't know, some kind of drone video that you took that you wanted to share with me, you can certainly do that here. And then what I do not have on this bottom of the screen is there's a separate section for photographs. Again, you're welcome to upload individual photographs in that section. We do like them. We use them a lot for our annual reporting, as I mentioned before. And it's just kind of fun to sort of see the progress that's going on in our project record. If you have a lot of photographs, you are welcome to just collate them into your project document on a one large PDF with maybe 2 photos to a page with captions. That works well too. Maybe 1 or 2 within the photographed area, but the rest of it can go that way too. I know it can be a little time consuming to upload individual photographs that way. So once you have your report submission done, all you would do is hit the little blue button at the bottom right hand of the screen that says Submit to SHPO. I should note that PA Share will send you an automated email to let you know that something's been submitted. And then you'll also get a second email from the system to let you know that I've approved or asked any additional questions about your submittal. So I will admit that you might need 1 or 2 times or review back to the tutorial a couple times to help you kind of remember this. I do realize that you only are in this maybe 4 or 5 times a year, but certainly I'm more than happy to kind of help you. This is a great tool, at least for our staff as well, to kind of manage all of the paperwork and review requirements that are coming in. Um, the other question may be, as a benefit for you, all of your grant documents are right there within your project. So if your project personnel changes, it's a really great tool for the next person who might be managing the project to see what has already been submitted or track what the reimbursement request may have been. So there's a great benefit for you as well. As I mentioned before, I can't release your final payment until you submit a final report. So I did want to spend just a quick reminder here. Again, we do provide template forms for what those reporting forms look like. I will add those to the PHMC website. But in past years, I've just noticed as you're coming through, I've thrown some of those reports your way if I notice that you're getting closer to completion, but I'll try to keep them on a centralized location for you to access them if you find that I don't notice that you're finishing up. Just a friendly reminder, we do hold the final 20% of your grant award until you submitted your final report. Again, your project is completed September 30th, 2023, and we do expect your final report to be submitted by October 31st of 2023. And for the most part, it's not very exhaustive. I know that other state agencies ask for your left arm and perhaps your right big toe as part of your reporting, but for the most part, I'm just interested in getting a summary of the work that was done, a financial summary with a comparison to what your budget expenses were to what the actual expenses were, photographs of your completed project, and then a verification that the project sign had been posted. So as we recap, I went a little longer than I thought it, but I'm almost done, I promise. The things to keep in mind as a grantee of what's needed to successfully manage your grant project. Do remember that I need to review your project prior to commencement of the project. If nothing has changed from what was submitted with the grant contract, or grant application, you can just email me and I can pull that from the ESA system and create a project supplement on your behalf within the system. Don't forget to do your declaration of covenants, your quarterly reporting, reimbursement requests, and project signs. One note that I forgot to mention with reimbursement requests, I think your grant contract suggests that you do them quarterly. I think that's just a suggestion so that you can remember to do them. But it's largely up to you. I have grantees that submit them as soon as contractors send invoices, so I can do them as frequently as monthly, biweekly, or there are some grantees who prefer just to ask for a lump sum payment at the end of the project period. So that's, other than leading you, I know I gave you a very large grant contract, a very large grant manual, and a lot of information this morning. But don't forget, I am your key person and contact person if you have questions. I try to be as accessible as possible, even through the grant application period, but also through even your project period. So my contact information is shared here. In addition, if you need the links to the PA Share website, you'll find it there. There's also some help information on our main website. There's a whole page on PA Share that kind of helps you navigate all of its features. If you need some quick tutorials, that's a great location. And Shelby and I will be sending out this recording in a couple days that you can always refer back to as well. And that's all I have. Shelby, do you want to open us up for questions? I think I saw quite a few coming through.
Actually, we have three that have come in. I'm going to read these, and Karen will give us her answer. And then, since we were able to get through those slides pretty quickly, I will unmute the all of the attendees. So, because we have a smaller group, you can then feel free to ask Karen a question and kind of have a dialogue. But let me read through these that came in through the chat first.
Great.
Jody has asked, Civic Arts has a fiscal sponsor. Can Civic Arts submit the reports directly, or does it have to come through the fiscal sponsor?
Oh, that's a great question, Jody. I think that I had recognized that you were working with a fiscal sponsor, and I think I added both of you into your project contacts. I will double check that before after I end this call, but it is perfectly fine that you're submitting the reporting on their behalf, since it's largely your project. Just know that reimbursements will always flow through your fiscal sponsor.
And then we have a question from the Edward Petrus Law Historical Society. Are attorney fees and or courthouse recording fees for covenant reimbursable?
Yes, they are. I know I always encourage people to include that in your project budget during the application, but if that was an omission, including your project sign, all of those items are, required as part of your grant contract and are reimbursable.
All right, and then the last one that we had come through the chat is from Danielle. If a project is completed prior to 2023, may we submit the final report early?
Oh, yes, please do. There's no reason to hang out with me. You're welcome to. You can avoid my annoying quarterly emails. If you're finished early, certainly by all means close it out. And there's no damage for finishing early. Anything else? I do want to thank all of you for joining us this morning. This was sort of a new initiative that I wanted to try since I have quite a large number of grantees this year. As our allocations grown, our grantee number has grown, and I thought this might be a nice vehicle to give you a chance to have access and all answer questions as we needed.
We did get a few more questions in the chat, and I will say that I can't unmute all of you at once. So you can unmute yourselves when we get to the end of this next set of questions and ask Karen her question. So Anna has asked if you could repeat the match timeline again.
Match timeline. What you mean when your matching verification is due? I think the contract specifies 90 days. I should note, I know how difficult it is to secure matching funds. So if you know, if something has changed from when you had created your app or wrote your application and who your prospective matching fund has fallen through, please just keep me apprised of that. It's not like come January 30th, if you don't have your matching funds in place, I'll pull away your grant. We are more than happy to give you additional time to secure that matching funds. I just recommend that you don't really start your project until you have that matching fund in place.
All right. Donna has asked if they can get the recording, and I will say that yes. I will process the recording when we're done here today and send it to the person at PHMC who will put that on our YouTube channel. You can then find that there probably next week. And Karen can send out a link to everybody who is on the meeting today, or you can go to YouTube and look for PA Trails of History. The PA SHPO has their own channel that you can find the recording on there. Michelle asks, we currently have a declaration of covenants filed. Should it be renewed, and what is the required length of time?
Oh, good question. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for asking that. If you already have a covenant in file, we would need to execute a new one if the term is not long enough to meet the requirements of this current grant contract. So I had initiated a sliding scale for terms based on the amount of grant award that you're receiving, and that's articulated in the grant contract. So if you're a project that is oh shoot, I'm so sorry, 25,000, I think it's only a 5-year term. If it's between 25,000 and 50,000, it's a 10-year term, and between 50,000 and $1 and $100,000, it's a 15-year term. I know that some of our grantees are former Save America's Treasures grant recipients who have like 50-year terms, and of course anything would fall within that requirement. And then if your term is not long enough, we would just file a new one.
All right, and then I see that Amy, you have your hand up, so let me get through these questions and then you can unmute and ask yours. Kim asks, the contract requires prevailing wage for contracted work. How is this applied to a conservation restoration contractor that might not be included in the prevailing wage determination?
Ooh. Good question, and I don't really know the answer to it. So I would probably refer you to labor and industry. I'm not as well versed in that. There's a magic that happens behind there that they don't really share with me. A lot of times, some of those conservators are sole proprietors, so they, you know, they're setting their own wage rates anyway. But they might be able to direct you about where you need to go. And I would imagine in most cases, conservators have a higher rate than what was already articulated that's required for prevailing wage. But good question. I can send you the link to Labor and Industries Prevailing Wage Group.
All right. Alexis asks, who should we contact if our grant manager has left and we have a completely new contact for this project?
Oh, just send it my way. I'm so sorry you had a change in personnel. But yeah, I can update the project contact information to make sure that you have access. I'm wondering if I already sent the contract to the wrong person and whether or not you got that. That would be the other thing to follow up with.
All right, and Anne Marie asks, with the project start of September 1st, 2021, is there a quarterly report due this month, or can we wait until January?
No, please wait until January. I realized that there was, you know, little happening if you were one of the lucky ones who got executed early. That was going to happen other than mobilization, and so this first like month that was fair game can be lumped into January. And I realized that some of the later ones that had trouble accessing the signature portal, you'll still have one due in January, even though although we'll be done by January. I promise. That signature contract parcel will be done by January. But you can certainly, first thing to say is it took the Commonwealth forever to sign my grant contract. It would be perfectly fine.
So that is all the questions we had come in through the chat. Amy, if you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question, that would be great.
Amy, you're still muted if you.
All right. Not sure, maybe Amy, since we aren't able to hear you, if you want to send your question through chat quickly, or you can follow up with Karen offline.
Oh, how strange, Amy. I'm sorry you're having that problem. Well, feel free to give me a call afterwards if you want, if since we seem to have you blocked from speaking.
Yeah, I see you as
It's a
unmuted.
total oversight. I don't know. Not
Uh,
intentional.
Yeah, we should be able to hear you, Amy. So just some of those gremlins that Karen and I were talking about earlier before we started this morning. So if there are no other questions, I think, Karen, we can wrap it up.
I think so. Thank you all again for your time. I really appreciate it. I think that this was a really helpful way to kind of make sure that you knew who to contact, and that I'm really here to really help make sure your project goes smoothly. So please let me know if I can help you in any way. Thanks again. Enjoy your day.
Goodbye, everybody.